Hi, this is Kamera again. We're on day number 254, Ezekiel chapter 37 through 39. Ezekiel, man of God, prophet of God, these messages, the things that God allows him to see, the things that God have him to experience. Oh my God. So starts off today where God takes Ezekiel in the spirit to this place called Valley of Bones. But the reason why it's called Valley of Bones is because the entire valley covered with dry bones. And so God asks Ezekiel, can these bones live? Ezekiel wisely responds and say, only you would know that, Lord. And so God says they can, and he tells Ezekiel what to say, and Ezekiel said, rise, and he speaks life into these bones. He's witnessing these bones coming together, because remember, if they're bones, they're separated, they're dry, they're reattaching themselves. He sees the veins, the blood, just the body's being recreated, the muscles and the skin overlaying them, and they're standing. Creepy. But anyway, yeah, thank God that he doesn't give me visions like that. So he sees these living things, and God breathes life in them, because of course he asked him, can they live or whatever. So he breathed life in them. And it's an army. I'm not talking about two or three people. I'm talking about these bones become life, living people again, an army. And so God tells Ezekiel, actually, the Lord tells Ezekiel that the people are saying that we're like old bones, all hope is gone, and those type of things. Our nation is become nothing, basically. So God tells him, he says, I will open the grave of exile and cause you to rise again. So that was the example. The dead people, the dead bones, the dry bones. And that was the message. Yeah, all hope is gone. That's what they were saying. There are dry bones and nothing can happen. And that's the same thing. When I was reading it, I was thinking about us, how we feel like, our life has passed us by. We can't really do anything now. We should have done it when we were younger. Or if we just feel like we don't have what it takes to do what God wants us to do. And God said, yeah, I made any bones. It doesn't matter if they're dead or dry. I can restore. I can rebuild. I can create a new you. So I got that out of that when I was reading this. So if our God can bring back dry bones and dead bones and make them live again and become an army again, he did that for me. Even when you think about even our bones, if we're sick or whatever, even he can renew those. He can, if he wanted to, if that's his will, he can do it. So he is able to do those things. But he tells the children of Israel not to lose hope, basically. And I can open the grave of exile, and I can bring you back and raise you again. And I will bring you back to Israel. And I will put a new spirit in you, and you will live again. Isn't that something about God? Oh, he's so wonderful. And so then he tells Ezekiel to take 2 pieces of wood, and he have them to inscribe on them, one for Judah, one for Ephraim. And remember this, guys, Israel at one point was all the nations together, and there was a conflict later on where the majority of Israel went to be under Israel, and Judah separated from them. They were left to be a nation of their own. But God said he's going to bring them back to be one nation, and that nation, Israel, and they will become one piece of wood, basically, and it will be under one king. Yeah, he tells Ezekiel to give that prophecy to them. And he says they will never again pollute themselves with idols and with vile images and rebellion. He said, I will save them from their own sinful apostasy. I will cleanse them. I will be their God. They will be my people, and I will live among them. Isn't that something? So even though they're going through, God is still giving them hope. He's not erasing them. So God tells Ezekiel, he tells him, this is again another prophecy, to face Gog and to prophesy against Gog, their prince, give the message to the prince. He said, I am your enemy. You don't want God to be your enemy. You just don't want God to be your enemy. And the only way we become enemies of God is when we treat people harshly, cruelly, and we totally disrespect God and blaspheme against him, then yeah, he becomes our enemy. Who can save us from God? Because he is God. He tells God. But you know what? As you're reading that portion of the scriptures, God tells Ezekiel that he's to give this prince's message. I'm going to give you in a distant future, though. This is in a distant future. He says he's going to strengthen him in a way that doesn't seem like he's against him. You're going to raise up a mighty army. And yeah, he says he's going to get these allies, and these aren't any small allies. He's talking about Ethiopia, Libya. He's talking about, Persia. This is a great army. And then he mentioned a few other nations, big, even more nations. And these nations are supposed to go against Israel. And this is a time when Israel feel like they're at peace. They're at peace from war. There's peace in the land. And people have come back. The Israelites have come from other nations and come back to the mountains of Israel. This is when they feel like everything is good. The war is gone. I mean, there's peace here. We're living good. We're happy. But then God is going to raise up this huge army to go against Israel. And he said they're going to roll down on them like a huge storm. And they're going to fight against Israel. But this is where God is going to prove that he is against that huge army. God said he's going to send, and that he says the evil thought is going to come into this person's wicked scheme, is going to come into this nation's mind and all this stuff. And he said that's when my anger is going to come down, or he's going to boil over. And he says, God says he's going to cause the earth to quake. And there's going to be terror throughout. From every living thing there's going to be terror amongst the people, amongst the animal, even the birds, the fishes. There's going to be terror on the land because of the power that God is going to. He's going to do. This torrential rain. He says, and this rain is going to be. There's going to be hailstones, burning sulfur. There's going to be fire. All of this, mountains and cliffs are going to crumble. All this, so yeah, there's going to be terror among everyone and everything. And he says, I will punish your army. And we're talking about Magog, we're talking about Gog, we're talking about the lands and all that vast army, that big army. I'm going to punish your army, and I'm going to strike you with disease and bloodshed. He says, prophesy against Gog. I am your enemy. Isn't that something? I'm going to turn your heart to be against Israel. But yeah, I'm going to leave you helpless. And then he again repeats what he's going to do to, all the torrential rain and hailstorm and fire and burning sulfur and burning the cliffs and the mountains are going to crumble and all that stuff. Crazy. Oh, Lord, right? But again, he says that is in a distant future. Yeah, and he says, in that way I will make known my holy name. But this part right here, guys, we need to take this personal. He says, I will not let anyone bring shame on my name. One nation under God. I'm just saying. Believers, ministers, pastors, evangelists, priests. I will not allow anyone to bring shame on my name. He says, all nations too will know that I am the Lord, the God, the holy God of Israel. He says that the people of Israel are going to go out and gather. Remember, from this army, they had to have something to fight with. They're going to go and pick up all those weapons, the javelin, the spears, everything they used to fight with. They're going to gather those, and those weapons they're going to use for fuel. They won't have to even disturb the woods and the forest for any woods. The plunder that they gather is going to be enough fuel for 7 years. Isn't that something? And it's going to take them 7 months to even bury the dead. That's a lot of people. A lot of people. So yeah, He said those people who want to come and plunder Israel, Israel's not going to plunder them. Those who want to rob Israel, Israel's not going to rob them. Isn't that something? And that is in a distant future. That's what God says. He also tells Ezekiel further on, he says this part. He said, call all the wild animals and the birds. And he said, gather them together for a great sacrificial feast. He says, go up to the mountains and eat up all flesh and blood. That is your feast. That's a sacrificial feast. Everyone, even the horses and the charioteers and the mighty valiant men, all of them, eat up everyone who are in the mountains. Everyone will see the punishment I have inflicted on Israel for their sin, for their unfaithfulness to God. That's what he tells them to do now. This is what I want you to do now, Ezekiel. I want you to call all the animals, all the wild animals, all the birds, like the vultures or whoever, and I want you to gather them together. They're going to have a sacrificial feast, and you're going to devour those men of Israel who are in the mountains. And yeah, every last one of them. Yeah. And people will know why I inflicted this punishment on Israel for their sin, for their unfaithfulness to God. He says, I turned to let your enemies destroy you. That's what he says. He says, I will have a mercy. There will be restoration eventually, but I will have mercy and those people are in captivity. I will have mercy. And yeah, but they will be responsible. They will be held responsible for their past shame and their unfaithfulness to God. They will know that I am the Lord, their God. I take all this personal. Yeah, he allowed that to happen to Israel and all the nations. So I'm going to take this personal in my life. I don't want to make God shamed. Lord, don't allow me to make you shame. You discipline me when I am wrong, even if I say the wrong things. If I do the wrong things to anyone, the smallest person to the greatest person, even in my thoughts, you discipline me, Lord. So help me to accept your discipline as it is, whether I believe that it was me or not. I'm going to take it as if it was me who disrespected you, and I will repent. I'm taking this personal, guys. I'm just saying. So there you have it, guys. It is so worth the read because I'm like, whoa, wow, woohoo, really, Lord? I love it. God is so good. He's so merciful. But enough is enough. And yeah, and guys, we're not too old or too worn out where God can't revive us and restore us. Those old dry bones, they rose and they lived again. So here we go, guys. That was day number 254, Ezekiel chapter 37 through 39. You have a God-filled, blessed day.